What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Line of the Stars. I'm Jordan, and we're back today with another episode of the Razor Crest from Star Wars The Mandalorian. And we are finally finishing up the cargo bay. And this has been a long time coming. I started working on this months ago. I've very carefully taken my time and took the time to get all of the individual pieces of this model put together properly, painted properly, and now it's time to go ahead and button up the inside so we can move on to what's going to be a very important episode next time. We'll get to that at the end of this episode. So today, in order to get finished, what we're going to go ahead and do is take all of these little things that I've very carefully painted over the last couple of weeks and get them put into place. Now, this is the remainder of the green strawberry cargo mod itself, and the entirety of the cargo stuff pack from the green strawberry fruit pack as well. And we're going to basically be able to get the internal parts all taken care of. And you guys, I'm super excited about seeing what this looks like. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get to building, shall we? All right, so first up, let's go ahead and take a review of some of the parts that I have basically built and assembled and kind of show you where we are going to be putting everything into place. We have 4 different guys in Carbonite. We are going to be doing a couple of different things with these 2 that don't have any of the attachments up top. And what we're going to start with today is we're actually going to finish weathering this up. I've gone through and I've done some weathering over the top to try to get a little bit of that, in Carbonite sort of feel, but it kind of washed out. And that's because I thinned down and created a wash for this that really, I thinned down too much. So we're just going to grab our Vallejo oil, or not oil wash, but our Vallejo wash, black wash, and we're just going to put it straight on there and see what happens. But we have 4 different guys in Carbonite. 2 that are not going to be hanging from the ceiling in the racks that they have. This one here with the Ewok was perish to think what this Ewok did to deserve getting put in Carbonite. I did not paint the back on, and this one is weathered up a little less. I also used gloss paint on this one because we're going to be using this one as the piece that fits into place where the Carbonite maker is. This guy is going to be the one that is going to be pushed out of the back of the Razor Crest when we do our diorama much later on in the year. And then we have our 2 guys that are actually hanging from the ceiling, and I will show that to you at the towards the end of the episode. But we have a couple of these mounting points up at the top that hook up. Everything has been painted and weathered. I went ahead and just tried to give as much of an effect of weathering and use as possible. Like, these have been swinging in the cargo bay for a little while, so I'm really excited about those. And this is where we're going to start today on getting our pieces assembled onto the roof section and letting the glue dry so it's secure, and getting our wash put on. So that's where we're going to be starting today. So up here, we have a couple different options for cargo netting. Some of them have the hooks at the top, which is the one that I'm going to try to use. But otherwise, we have just different netting options available. I went ahead and painted everything just in case. This is the one I am planning on using, but we could use one of these 2 as well. So these were just sprayed with, I believe it's flat black, and then I went ahead and just put a little bit of aluminum over the top of it, dark aluminum, excuse me. We got those pieces, and now that they're out of the container, I'm going to go ahead and just set these off to the side because they're a bit of a pain in the butt. Coming up for these, we have a bunch of pieces of stowage, and this is the first time that I've ever really done any sort of stowage work. So, forgive me if they're not looking the greatest, but I think they turned out pretty well. I did pick up a piece of equipment to help me paint minis, and it's the little handle thing with the, I'll just go ahead and show it real quick. I went ahead and picked up one of these to help with painting minis and all that. It really helped in the process of getting these pieces built and painted, and the next ones, and I'll show you just in a second. These ones are really cool, and I can't wait to show you guys those. So here are various pieces of stowage and various things that we're going to build little platforms out of. We are going to be gluing everything down into place. We're going to be putting them into place and basically stacking it and presenting it because we need to think about lighting in the next episode. So there's a little hint for what's coming up next. So I'm going to go ahead and get these just kind of put off to the side now as well. And then finally, we have our two pieces here. And these ones are the ones that really kind of drew me into wanting to get this mod in the first place. So the first one, and I'll go ahead and put this up here to the camera. It's going to be a little difficult to see. So I'll go ahead and put that like that. And so if you guys are familiar, there was a assassin droid that was sent after Mando and Grogu in season 1, and Mando took him down and decided to go ahead and keep the carcass as a display or whatever. So that's what it is. I was actually able to get some really good detail out of there. I used NATO brown for the brown on the lowercase, and then I believe it was a oh, what color? Did I do white or tan on that one? I'm not quite sure. Probably wooden deck tan, actually, on the top case, and then silver over on the other side. And then it was just done with a wash and various applications of black paint to just kind of bring out the highlights. It turned out really, really good. I'm really pleased with how this work was done. These are really small pieces, and these are by far the best minifigures that I've done, and I'm very proud of the work that I did here. I'll set that one off to the side. And for the whole reason why I got this mod. Now, to buy this mod is like 60, 70 bucks. And I would have done it just for this little resin piece right here. So as you can see there, if you guys can pick it up, I'll let it focus up a little bit. You can see there that that is Boba Fett's helmet and his armor, as we saw in Mandalorian season 2 after he liberated the armor from Cobb Vanth. And this is how it was stacked when Boba Fett saw it at the end of season 2, and when he went into the Razor Crest and went ahead and did his badassery in his episode there at the end of the season. So, get a little bit closer there. There we go. I actually got this painted and done really, really well. The backpack turned out really good. Yeah, I wish that I could really zoom in, get some real close in detail, but well, maybe get a little bit closer there. I'm like pushing up as far against the camera as I can. There we go. So there we are. I got some really good detail on there. You know, I could obviously do better, especially working with, picking up highlights and lowlights. But overall, I'm really pleased with the work that was done there. And this whole resin piece right here was worth the 60 or 70 bucks that this would have cost. And so, my friends, it's time. Let's go ahead and start assembling and putting our pieces into place, because there's really only going to be just a little bit of gluing going on, as we're really just going to be stacking things up in place where I want them to go, and then doing a little bit of extra weathering and painting. So let's go ahead and get on to our Carbonite figures. All right, so we got our Carbonite figures there placed down on some paper towels so we can do a little bit of weathering action. And then we're going to be using our Vallejo black wash. This is an acrylic-based black wash, and I really do like this. It works for our resin bits because, remember, you don't want to use any of the petroleum-based solvents or anything like that on this because it will easily melt. So we'll go ahead and get a little bit of our wash on there. And we are not going to thin this down at all. And I think that's one of the mistakes that I made with the this on the outset. So let's go ahead and just get that on there. We're going to go right over the top of our figure first. And I want to try to pull some of those highlights off of the figure first. I'm going to let that sit in there for a second, get some paint on all of our figures. I say that. Now let's go ahead and pull a little bit of that off. We're going to go ahead and just darken that up a little bit. I want as much of the wash to settle in around the figure itself with some dark spots and low spots, just like that, to get that sort of effect. Because remember, when Han Solo was in the Carbonite, it wasn't clean, it wasn't shiny, it looked more like that. So let's go ahead and get on to the rest of our figures. We're going to start with getting over the top of the figure itself, trying to get in and around the outside of all the crevices. Want to really pick up like what the figure is. Let that set for a second. I'm going to go ahead and pull off a little bit of the wash. And I'm going to go ahead and grab the excess that's hanging around and finish coloring up the rest. And there we are. That looks much better. Yeah, that looks much better. That's exactly the look we're getting for. I'm going to go ahead and do the other two, and we'll be back real quick to review. All right, so while our figures in Carbonite go ahead and dry, let's go ahead and build our first stack of boxes right back here. And we need to think about first, there's two more pieces I got to show you guys. I can't believe in the review I forgot to do so. So here's the ceiling piece. This turned out really, really well. I went ahead and took two of our net pieces or our basket pieces or what have you, folded or bent the photo etch into a half circle there, and then I went ahead and just mounted it up. It's got a couple of pieces of raised detail that you mount up, and then I just went ahead and painted this in our I think it was dark iron, actually, is what I chose to use for that. And so where our figures in the Carbonite mount up, let's go ahead and slide this up and out of the way. So the way this goes, by the way, the wider, fatter end is going to go right here up against this edge of the model. And then we also have this plate right here. And that one sets into place just like this. So how these figures hang in place is we are going to be positioning them. Oh, goodness me. These little nubs at the end of the mounting bracket fit perfectly into these little ridges. And so what I want to do first is determine where I want my figures to be placed. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove, oh my goodness, I'm going to go ahead and remove our part from the photo etch from the photo etch tree, I guess you can call it. Sprue, whatever you want to call it. All right, so there's our piece taken off. I unfortunately pushed down on this basket piece and bent the photo etch a little bit, and I may have, damaged it a little bit, but it's no big deal. That's not going to be a concern, actually. So what I'm going to do is first position this in place. To do so, I'm going to use a pair of tweezers. Just set it down. And then take a look inside. See how much room I have. I'll go ahead and I'll try to show. But there's the roof put in place. And that really just, man, that really sets that off. Okay. So what I need to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab one of my Carbonite figures here. And what I'm trying to do is make sure that I'm positioning this in enough space so that I can, let's go ahead and switch back over to the top camera. And let's zoom out. I'm just trying to put this in place and see how much room I have to work with and which one of these I should be placing in, which one of these racks I need to be placing this at. So if I want to display the cargo, I want to come as far over to the left this way, as you can see this, or down, I guess, from this perspective, and as far back as we can go. Okay. So now that these have actually had a chance to dry, let's go ahead and get our two figures in Carbonite placed into place. And we're going to go ahead and go into these last two slots. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab my pin vise with my piece of craft wire, dip that in my CA, get that onto our point, make sure that there's enough of our CA on there because I want to make a stable connection. And we're going to go as far over and into the back as we can. I'm going to take this one and put this in the front position. I'm going to hold this right here for just a moment, and we will be right back. All right, so as you can see, our first one is nice and held in place. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my pin vise. And I didn't show is I did get some of our buttons and controls painted along the side. I used a toothpick, and then I used white, green, and red to me a paint for that. All right, now Make sure we have plenty of that CA on the end. Make sure we're facing the correct direction. Line it up with our guy in front. And then I am going to get this held in place, and we will be right back. All right, so those two are put into place. We're going to let these completely dry before we do anything else with them. So we're going to go ahead and slide them out of the way, but I do just kind of want to show you how that does look as it's attached up to the ceiling. I gotta say that does look pretty cool. Go ahead and take a look from the side camera over here. And there it is. Get a little bit closer there. There we are. Has a little bit of tough time because the shininess focusing up, but that's what that looks like. Turned out really good, you guys. So let's go ahead and move on to getting our first cargo net installed, as I said here in the beginning. Okay, so first things first, I think we need to determine what we are going to position our Boba Fett armor and our droid armor on top of. Now, I do want to have the Boba Fett armor sitting possibly on top of. The yellow might detract too much from that one, so I think I'm going to go ahead and grab two of these ones. We're going to go ahead and grab two of these silver boxes. I went ahead and painted one silver and then one gunmetal gray. And I think what I'd like to do is have the armor do those two like that, and then maybe let's go ahead and grab this piece. That looks good. That, and then we'll put the armor in just like that. So right up there, we'll do one of those sort of things, and I will angle this box. And then for this one, let's go ahead and put it on top of nothing. It's actually at the perfect height, and we'll wind up working out just fine. So for the rest, let's go ahead and take all of the remaining pieces of our. There's a couple pieces that I want to keep reserved, but we're going to grab these pieces here. Keep that reserved. That one. Otherwise, we're going to grab those four pieces. Let's grab all of the rest. Let's actually grab that barrel there as well. I do want to kind of keep some of them off to the side for positioning elsewhere. So what we're going to do is I'm going to set these down, and I want to put it in such a way that it can be seen from behind, like when you're looking into the model. So I'm going to try to like get these into a position where it makes sense. Let's grab that side. That one's the better painted side, just like that. That one's going to go in right here. And let's go ahead and grab this red barrel. I decided not to put the backpack piece on it, and that was a piece of very fiddly photo etch that I did not do right. I'll set that just like that. Let's grab this little container that looks like that. Set it on top. Just like that. And then what might just be one of the smallest pieces of photo etch, this is a small little footlocker size container. We're just going to go ahead and set that like that. So, let's see. Am I satisfied with the way that looks? I am. Now, let's see how this looks with the net sitting over the top. Definitely want to get them glued into place, but that is going to 100% work really, really well. So, I'm going to go ahead and get these individually glued into place, and we will be right back to review how I did. All right, so there are our pieces of stowage all put in place. Let's go ahead and switch over to the other camera and see how that looks. And so that's what it looks like up against the wall there. So now what we're going to go ahead and do, look at this in the frame. I'm going to go ahead and grab, I believe, what might actually be the other piece, although I need to figure out if I can get this in here and get it folded around here properly. Okay, what I'm actually, I should be able to get this properly put in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab our Carbonite, and I'm going to go ahead and get it secured into place. I wish I could show you guys the technicality of it. Unfortunately, what I'm noticing is my hands are just completely covering up and you can't really see what I'm doing. So I'm going to go ahead and get this installed right here, and we'll come back to review how it looked after I'm done. Okay, so what I've done after a few minutes of manipulation is I bent my cargo net like this. Went ahead and curved around the edge here, left a space for the cargo itself, tucked it in, ran it flat so it can go up against the wall, and then ran it flat up against the top. I also went ahead and turned all the hooks outward, although I'm thinking about removing them. We'll see here in just a second. All right, so, man, that looks really good. I was able to get that put into place. I'm going to need to go ahead and tuck that along the bottom still, so I will take care of that in between takes. So let's go ahead and move on to getting our middle section taken care of. Okay, so first up, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and load our Ewok up into the chamber, as you can see right there, that creates the figures in Carbonite. So what we're going to do is very simply just take it and lean it up against the side like this to kind of imply that he just did the work and still needs to get him all hung up. So let's go ahead and get him glued into place. And to do so, I'm just going to simply take a little bit of CA, and we're going to go along the back side on the bottom here. So as you can see, just running a little bead of glue along the edge on the back. And you try to get this right on the first shot so it doesn't smudge. So I'm going to set it down and push it back. I'm going to go ahead and hold that in place for just a moment. As you can see, it's set like that. I'm going to go ahead and hold that in place, and we will be right back. All right, so there it is. As you can see, kind of from the angle, you can see that it's kind of hanging out a little outside the chamber, which is exactly the look that I was looking for. So let's go ahead and switch over to the top camera. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take some of these auxiliary pieces right here, these really tiny ones, and I'm just going to kind of glue them onto the ground right along in this area to kind of imply that there's just a little bit of cargo hanging out outside of a net. So I'm going to grab this bigger piece right here. And I say bigger piece, this is the biggest out of the four that we have remaining. Let's go ahead and grab a little bit of our CA, get along the bottom. I was paying attention to where I was not supposed to be painting. So let's go ahead and just position this in a corner, leaning the other way. There we are. I'm going to let that set for a second. All right, so as you can kind of see, our part is set right there in the corner, kind of leaned up against the wall. Let's go ahead and do similar things with the other three pieces. I'm going to go ahead and take care of that one, which is this tiny little one, and then two pieces that look exactly like that. I'm going to go ahead and just stack them up around the corner, and then I'll come back to review how it turned out. Okay, so we just kind of got our stuff stacked up right there in the corner, right next to our Ewok and Carbonite. Still wonder what he did to deserve this. But there is all of our stuff. Let's try to get in a little bit closer. I'm trying not to move it too much because everything's still setting and curing. But that's all we've got installed so far. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is flip this bad boy around, switch over to the top camera. And then this piece, our droid piece, is going to be set in right. Oop. All right, so we're getting him glued in. I got him held by the head. Very appropriate. That was an assassin droid who was trying to take out Grogu. Not cool. So we're going to kind of set him sitting in at a bit of an angle. Just a little bit. Mando is fastidious and very much a clean freak and neat and tidy. But I also want to give the impression that this ship is his home and it is lived in. So I'm going to go ahead and hold this in place for just a moment. And we will be right back. All right, as you can see there, our piece is put into place. It looks really, really good. Let's go ahead and take a look up the rear end, am I right? And see what we've gotten done so far. Yeah, guys, that really adds a lot of depth and detail. Let's focus up a little bit here. The model gives it that sort of lived-in appearance. Man. Yeah, that looks really good. Okay. Now, for my favorite part of this entire episode, let's go ahead and get Boba Fett's armor put into place. Now, to do so, to get his armor put into place, we are going to be putting it in right here. It is going to be extraordinarily fiddly, and there's no way that I can do this with you guys seeing what I'm doing. So I'm going to go ahead and get all 4 of our boxes put into place, and we'll come back to review how it turned out. Okay, you guys, you got to check this out. I know it's kind of hard to see, but that's how we're going to display that. There's Boba Fett's armor. How Boba Fett sees it in the episode The Tragedy, which is episode 7 of season number 2. So, oh, you guys, I am super happy with how all that turned out. So that plus everything else that we got going on in here, I think we're ready to go ahead and put in a ladder and get ready. Well, I think we're ready to go ahead and install our ladder and get to moving into putting on the ceiling for the time being, because we need to think about lighting in our next episode. So let's go ahead and get our ceiling put into place. Okay, so first up, we have this piece, and I did mess up the paint on this one here. I don't know what happened there, but I just got a blast, and it just kind of like screwed up the paint. I'm not too worried about it because it's going to be right under this part right here. So I'm not too worried about it. So what we're going to do is we are not going to be taking this and permanently putting them into place. I know it may seem a little strange, but my thought process is if I want to pick up any other 72nd scale cargo stuff from other companies, get any 3D printed stuff, I want to be able to take this top piece off and be able to put things into place, number one. And number two, we need to drill out for our lighting. So we need to talk about what we're going to be doing next time when we come back around to doing the Razor Crest. We need to start really buckling down and thinking about getting our lighting put in place. So, my friends, that's what we're going to be doing next week. We're going to be taking care of lighting our front 2 red LEDs up front, and then we're going to take care of our cinematic style lighting. I'm going to be working over the next week on getting some stuff fashioned, pointed. I want to highlight all of the different little pieces that we just assembled inside of our model, and I want lights pointing directly at it as the only lighting effect inside of the model, as I want it to be more cinematic than anything else. So let's go ahead and get our final piece put on for the day. And to do so, what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece and this ladder, and what we need to do is we need to take this ladder piece and basically get it hooked in right here. Now, this is how it's going to be installed permanently. I'm not going to finish gluing it in down onto the floor until we're done at the very end. Now, where this is going to be positioned is sitting right in between these 2 posts, just like that. So let's see if I got everything right. Fingers crossed. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and get our top section put on in place. To do that, I'm just going to use a pair of tweezers. And I'm going to go ahead and set this down. Very nice. On top of the piece, and set it down just like that. I'm going to take a look at my fitment inside. Make sure my guys in Carbonite are positioned properly. They are sitting a little over, and that's fine. But that does look good. And it does look like our glue one needs to be put into place. We need to get our guys glued a little bit better in here. They're a little bit floppy and falling off. So I'm going to go ahead and get our guys glued into place a little bit better. We'll be back, and I need to figure out how we're going to position our ladder, or if we're even going to use it. Okay, so after reviewing my fitment and looking at the instructions, I got this right, and it is all ready to go. So I'm going to continue to let these cure for just a few minutes, but I want to start getting this installed, and in order to do so, what we're going to do is set that down, not hold it like an idiot. And where we're going to get our glue into place is just going to be onto these 2 small little tabs and they hook in on the other side right here. So I can just get the CA underneath the tabs, making sure I'm getting enough. Very carefully grab our piece. Make sure our ladder is going through. Very carefully grab our piece and knock a thing over. Like I said, I'm going to need to hold these in place for just a little while. So what I'm going to do, get that, hook that up right there, just like that. I'm going to get this set in place, and we will be right back. All right, so everything is fixed into place. Fingers crossed it's fixed into place. Let's go ahead and get everything out of our way. And see if I can get this lightly put down into place. A little worried about the ladder. The ladder is being a bit of a pain. Okay, I see. So how I'm going to approach that is install the ladder after this is fully installed later on. So there is our ceiling section put on. We're going to go ahead and not glue that into place once again, as we want to be making sure we're leaving that for the very end of the build. So let's go ahead and take a look. We're going to be losing some of our visibility into the inside of the model, but I think the results are going to speak for themselves. All right, my friends, there it is. Kind of see into the inside. Maybe we can toss a little bit of light in there. I'm not quite sure by moving some stuff out of the way. Kind of hard to see, but all of our parts are put into place. Our ceiling is put into place. Everything is lined up really, really nicely. We have our Boba Fett armor in. We have all of our cargo stuff and netting all put into place. We got our figures in Carbonite all taken care of. My friends, we have reached the end of the cargo bay mod with only a little bit of modifications left needed to do. Oh, wow. I am super excited about that. I am really, really excited that this is finished and we can move on to some bigger and brighter things. You see what I did there? We will be taking care of our lighting in the next episode. So I'm going to just go ahead and hold this here as we say goodbye. It'll probably be another couple weeks before we're back, but I just want to say thank you. I know that there was a million things y'all could have done today. Instead, you spent a couple minutes with me watching me build a model, which I think is pretty damn cool. If you guys have any questions or comments, tips, tricks, please leave them down below. If you'd like to support the channel, please like and subscribe. And my friends, until we see each other again, I hope you all have a wonderful day in this beautiful world wherever you happen to be. And just remember, my friends, that this is the way.